Billionaire's contract wife falls deeply in love despite corporate conspiracy. Hey love bugs. Welcome back to Dear Love Diaries. Miss me? Because I've been dying to share today's story with you. Can we just take a second to appreciate this moment? You, me, and another heart-melting love story that's about to wreck us all in the best possible way. This is literally my favorite part of the week. For my ride-or-dies who've been here since day one, you know who you are, I've got something extra special today. And if you're new here, you picked the perfect day to join our little love revolution. What happens when a fake, I do, starts feeling dangerously real? When the ring is genuine but the relationship is for show? When boardroom politics leads to bedroom chemistry? Welcome to this week's steamy tale that'll have you canceling your plans tonight. Alexander Katsaros needs a wife, not for love, but for survival. His billion-dollar empire teeters on the edge, and only a golden wedding band can save it. Sofia Mendoza needs security, financial freedom to chase her dreams without looking back. Their solution? A marriage contract. No feelings. No complications. No falling in love. Drop a ring if you've ever fantasized about your own billionaire marriage of convenience fantasy. Where are you watching from tonight? Your comments fuel my romance-loving soul. This is a story about masks we wear and the faces we reveal only to those who earn our trust. About two people who discover that sometimes, the greatest business risk is allowing yourself to feel. And the greatest reward isn't measured in dollars or stock options, but in the transformative power of love. Alexander Katsaros strides through the glass and steel tower of Katsaros Enterprises, employees parting before him like water. At 35, he commands attention not just through his position as CEO but through his very presence, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that's always perfectly styled and those piercing blue eyes that seem to see right through people's deceptions. Today, he wears a charcoal gray suit that costs more than most of his employees make in a month, tailored to enhance his athletic build. The Reynolds portfolio projections, he demands, holding out his hand without breaking stride. His assistant hurries alongside him, passing him the folder. They're waiting for you in conference room A, sir. Alexander nods curtly. He doesn't smile. He rarely does since Isabella. 3 years of marriage ended with him discovering his wife in bed with his former business partner, a betrayal that cost him personally and professionally. The scandal nearly tanked Katsaros Enterprises stock. Since then, Alexander has rebuilt his walls higher, stronger. The only emotion he allows himself is controlled ambition. The only relationship he nurtures is with his company, the legacy his grandfather built from nothing after immigrating from Greece with empty pockets and full dreams. In his private office, Alexander pauses at the window, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. This view reminds him daily of what's at stake. What he must protect. His phone buzzes with a message from his mother, Eleni. Another subtle inquiry about his personal life. Another reminder that the Katsaros name needs heirs. Another expectation he can't currently fulfill. He silences the phone without responding. Across town, in a modest office cubicle, Sofia Mendoza stares intensely at spreadsheets on dual monitors. At 30, she's already gaining recognition as one of the sharpest financial analysts in the industry. Her colleagues call her the market whisperer for her uncanny ability to predict trends. What they don't know is that this skill was born from necessity, growing up watching her father struggle to keep their family restaurant afloat after her mother's death. Sofia tucks a strand of curly hair behind her ear, her warm brown eyes focused. Unlike many in the financial world, she doesn't chase wealth for its own sake. Money to Sofia means one thing: security. The kind she and her father never had during those lean years when bill collectors called daily and dinner sometimes consisted of restaurant leftovers. Her phone lights up with a text from her father. The restaurant's refrigeration system is failing again. Another $5,000 they don't have. Sofia sighs, rubbing her temples. Her substantial salary disappears quickly between helping her father, paying off her student loans, and setting aside emergency funds. Security remains just out of reach. Mendoza, her boss, appears at her cubicle. The Katsuro's account. They want your analysis presented in person. Tomorrow. Sophia's eyes widen. Katsuro's Enterprises rarely requests junior analysts. This could be the opportunity she's been waiting for. Meanwhile, in a sleek office across town, Dominic Rugazaki reclines in his leather chair, a smile playing on his lips as he reviews confidential documents about Katsuro's Enterprises. At 40, the Japanese-American CEO of Rugazaki Global has built his reputation on acquiring struggling companies. His current target, the company Alexander Katsuro's, would die to protect. Alexander is vulnerable, Dominic tells the beautiful woman seated across from him. The shareholders are nervous since the divorce. They question his judgment. Isabella Visconti, Alexander's ex-wife, sips champagne, her Italian accent more pronounced when she's plotting. He trusts no one since me. It's his greatest weakness. And our greatest opportunity, Dominic replies. We start rumors about his emotional instability. Push the narrative that Katsuro's Enterprises needs new leadership. By the time we make our move, the shareholders will be begging us to take over. The next day, Sophia enters the imposing Katsuro's Enterprises building, her portfolio clutched tightly. Her practical navy suit is the nicest she owns, but she feels underdressed the moment she enters the gleaming lobby. Still, she lifts her chin. Her worth isn't in her clothes but in her mind. In the boardroom, Alexander sits impassively as Sophia presents her analysis. Her voice is steady, confident as she outlines market predictions that contradict Katsuro's Enterprises' current strategy. Your European expansion is premature, she states boldly. The market indicators suggest waiting 18 months. The room falls silent. No one contradicts Alexander Katsuro's. To everyone's surprise, Alexander leans forward, interest flickering in his eyes. Explain. Sophia does, breaking down complex market patterns with remarkable clarity. As she speaks, Alexander studies her. Not just her words, but her presence. Her authenticity. The absence of pretense so rare in his world. When she finishes, Alexander dismisses everyone but her. Ms. Mendoza, he says once they're alone. How would you like to save Katsuro's Enterprises from a hostile takeover? The question hangs in the air between them, the first thread of a connection that will change both their lives forever. Chapter 2. Sophia stares at Alexander, certain she's misheard him. The boardroom suddenly feels too large and too small simultaneously. I'm sorry, Mr. Katsuro's. I don't understand how I could possibly help with a hostile takeover. Alexander's expression remains unreadable as he rises from his chair and walks to the floor-to-ceiling window. The late afternoon sun casts his profile in sharp relief. Dominic Rugazaki is making moves against my company, he says, his voice controlled yet tense. He's exploiting shareholder concerns about leadership stability following my divorce. In their eyes, I've become a liability, emotionally unstable, personally compromised. He turns to face her, his blue eyes intense. I need to change that narrative. Quickly. Sophia's analytical mind clicks into gear. A PR campaign? New leadership structure? A wife. The word lands between them like a stone dropped in still water. Excuse me? Sophia blinks, certain again that she's misheard. Alexander walks closer, his movements deliberate. I need a wife, Ms. Mendoza. Or more precisely, I need to appear settled, stable. Family-oriented. I need the markets to see me as a man with a future, not a man derailed by his past. Sophia laughs, then stops when his expression doesn't change. You're serious. Completely. I'm proposing a business arrangement. A contract marriage, for 1 year. You present to the world as my wife. Attend functions, appear in photographs, live in my penthouse. In exchange, you receive $2 million, plus a $500,000 signing bonus immediately. Sophia feels lightheaded. The sum he's offering would solve every financial worry she's ever had. Her father's restaurant could be renovated, his medical bills covered. Her student loans vanished. Security, the thing she's chased her entire life, handed to her in a moment. Yet something in her recoils. You want me to pretend to love you? For money? Alexander's lips tighten. I don't need love, Ms. Mendoza. I need competence. Your financial analysis shows you're brilliant. Your background check shows you're discreet with no embarrassing social media presence. Your presentation today showed you can hold your own in high-pressure situations. You've investigated me? Sophia feels violated, yet strangely flattered. I investigate everyone who might impact my company, he responds without apology. You're perfect for this role. Accomplished in your own right. Photogenic without being showy. Intelligent enough to navigate social situations without embarrassing the Katsuro's name. Sophia crosses her arms. And at the end of the year? An amicable divorce. Irreconcilable differences. You walk away wealthy, I keep my company. The coldness of it all should repel her. Instead, Sophia finds herself oddly appreciative of his straightforward approach. No false promises. No pretense. I would have conditions, she says, surprising herself. Alexander raises an eyebrow. Such as? I keep my job, not at Katsuro's Enterprises, that would be a conflict, but somewhere. My career matters to me. He nods. Reasonable. What else? Separate bedrooms. This is business, not pleasure. Of course. And my father needs to be protected from any fallout. His restaurant can't become tabloid fodder. Alexander studies her thoughtfully. Family is important to you. It's not a question, but Sophia answers anyway. My father raised me alone after my mother died. He worked 18-hour days to put me through college. He's everything to me. Something flickers across Alexander's face, recognition, perhaps. Or respect. I'll have a private security detail assigned to him and the restaurant. Discreet but effective. Sophia walks to the window, looking out at the city. $2 million. Financial freedom. Security not just for her but for her father. All for 1 year of her life. But what about her integrity? Her authentic self? I need time to think, she says finally. You have 24 hours, Alexander replies, returning to business mode. The arrangement would need to begin immediately. When Sophia leaves the Katsuro's building, the world seems surreal. She walks for hours through the city, her mind racing. By the time she reaches her father's restaurant, Miguel Mendoza can tell something is wrong just by looking at her face. Mija, what happened? He asks, wiping his hands on his apron. Sophia sits at the worn counter, the familiar smells of her childhood surrounding her. How can she explain this impossible choice? Papa, what would you do if you could solve all our problems, but it meant living a lie for a while? Miguel's kind eyes crinkle with concern. This sounds serious, Sophia. She tells him everything, watching his expression change from shock to concern to thoughtful consideration. $2 million, he whispers, shaking his head. But at what cost to your heart, Mija? It's just business, Sophia insists. 1 year of my life for lifetime security. The heart doesn't always understand business, Miguel replies gently. And you have such a beautiful heart, Sophia. The next morning, Sophia stands in Alexander's office, her decision made after a sleepless night. When he looks up from his desk, she speaks before she can change her mind. I accept your offer, Mr. Katsaros. But I want everything in writing, including the exit terms. Alexander rises, extending his hand. Welcome to the family, Ms. Mendoza. As their hands meet, Sophia feels an unexpected current between them. Not attraction, something more complicated. A recognition, perhaps, of two people about to embark on an extraordinary deception together. I'll have the contracts and NDA prepared immediately, Alexander says. And Sophia? From now on, it's Alexander. We're engaged, after all. The way he says her name, Sophia, sends an involuntary shiver down her spine. This is business, she reminds herself firmly. Nothing more. Little does she know that across town, Dominic Rugazaki is receiving news of Alexander Katsaros's sudden engagement with furious disbelief, setting in motion a chain of events that will test not just their fake relationship, but their very lives. If you've ever had to make a difficult choice between security and your personal values, hit that subscribe button. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I always love seeing how far these stories reach. Chapter 3. 3 days after signing the contract, Sophia finds herself standing beside Alexander at a press conference, a 3-carat diamond weighing heavily on her left hand. Camera flashes nearly blind her as Alexander's arm circles her waist, his touch firm but impersonal. Alexander. When did you meet? Shouts one reporter. Ms. Mendoza. What attracted you to Alexander after his messy divorce? Calls another. Alexander's public smile is practiced perfection. Sophia and I met through work initially, but reconnected at a charity function 6 months ago. Some things happen when you least expect them. Sophia feels the eyes of the world upon her. The dress Alexander's team selected hugs her curves perfectly, understated elegance that complements his power suit. She forces herself to lean slightly into his embrace, reminding herself of the role she's agreed to play. I admire his dedication to his family's legacy, she says, the rehearsed line flowing smoothly. Behind the business facade is a man of deep conviction. Not entirely a lie, she realizes. In their limited interactions, Alexander's devotion to his grandfather's company has been evident. Later, at a cocktail reception for investors, Sophia observes the immediate effect of their engagement. Men who had been cool toward Alexander now approach with congratulations. Women who had been circling him predatorily now regard Sophia with curious assessment. The facade is working. Darling, Alexander murmurs in her ear, his breath warm against her skin. The Westbrooks are approaching. Major shareholders. Follow my lead. For hours, Sophia navigates the treacherous waters of high society, grateful for her analytical mind that catalogues names, connections, and subtle power dynamics. By evening's end, she's exhausted from maintaining the charade, from smiling until her cheeks hurt, from the constant physical contact with a man who remains essentially a stranger. The real test comes when they return to Alexander's penthouse, now her home for the next year. The elevator opens directly into the foyer, revealing a space that belongs in an architectural magazine. Minimalist design, priceless art, soaring windows with spectacular city views. Beautiful but sterile, lacking any sense of being lived in. Your room is this way, Alexander says, leading her down a hallway. I had the designer prepare it based on your apartment photos. Sophia stops short. You photographed my apartment? Background check, he reminds her without apology. I needed to understand who I was bringing into my home. The suite he shows her is luxurious, a spacious bedroom, sitting area, and ensuite bathroom larger than her entire apartment. To her surprise, touches of her own aesthetic are indeed present, jewel-toned throw pillows, a reading nook by the window, bookshelves waiting to be filled. My clothes? She asks, thinking of the few boxes she'd packed. Your new wardrobe is in the closet. My personal shopper selected everything based on your size and the image we're presenting. Your personal items were delivered while we were out. Sophia opens the walk-in closet to find rows of designer clothes, shoes, handbags, more than she's owned in her entire life. The price tags are gone, but she can estimate the fortune surrounding her. This is too much, she whispers. Alexander shrugs. It's necessary. My wife wouldn't shop off the rack. The casual dismissal stings more than it should. And my actual clothes? In storage. You can keep personal items, of course, but anything you wear in public needs to reflect your new status. Later that night, after Alexander retreats to his own suite on the opposite side of the penthouse, Sophia sits by her window, looking out at the glittering city below. She's higher than she's ever been, in every sense of the word. Yet she feels unmoored, adrift in a life that isn't hers. She unpacks her few treasured possessions, photos of her father, her mother's rosary, favorite books. Small anchors to her true self in this sea of pretense. The following weekend brings another test, meeting the families. First is lunch with Eleni Katsaros at her Hamptons estate. The matriarch receives them in a garden blooming with Mediterranean flowers, her silver-streaked hair elegant in a chignon, her assessment of Sophia neither warm nor cold but deeply watchful. So, Eleni says once they're seated with tea, "You've captured my son's heart when so many have tried and failed." Sophia feels Alexander tense beside her. "I wouldn't say captured, Mrs. Katsaros. We found each other at the right time." "Eleni, please." The older woman's gaze is penetrating. "Alexander tells me you're quite the financial prodigy." "I enjoy analysis," Sophia responds modestly. "Finding patterns others miss." "And what pattern did you see in my son that led you to accept his proposal so quickly?" The question is a trap. Sophia chooses honesty, selective honesty. Integrity. Despite his divorce, Alexander never spoke ill of his ex-wife publicly. That shows character. Eleni's expression softens fractionally. Well observed. Her attention shifts. "Alexander, show Sophia the olive grove while I check on lunch." When they're alone among the olive trees, Alexander's public persona slips. "You handled her well. My mother doesn't trust easily after Isabella." "Neither do you," Sophia observes. Their eyes meet in a moment of genuine connection before Alexander's walls rise again. "We should head back." The next day brings dinner at Miguel's restaurant, a stark contrast to the Hamptons estate. The small family-owned place is warm, filled with regulars who greet Sophia by name. Colorful papal picado decorations hang from the ceiling, and the smells of chilies and slow-cooked meats fill the air. Alexander appears distinctly uncomfortable, his designer suit out of place among the casual diners. Sophia watches him shake her father's hand, sees Miguel's protective assessment. "So you're the billionaire who swept my daughter off her feet," Miguel says, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. "Papa," Sophia warns. "It's all right," Alexander says. "Yes, sir. Though I suspect it was your daughter who did the sweeping." Miguel laughs unexpectedly. "You got that right." Sophia has always known her mind. "Come, sit. You eat real food, yes? Not just those tiny portions they serve at fancy places." Throughout dinner, Sophia watches with amazement as her father gradually draws Alexander out. The CEO remains reserved but unbends enough to try everything served, complimenting the food with what seems like genuine appreciation. When Miguel tells stories of Sophia's childhood, she catches Alexander watching her with curiosity. As they leave, Miguel pulls Sophia aside. "He's closed tight like a fist, Mija. But I see how he looks at you when he thinks no one notices. Be careful with your heart." "It's not like that, Papa," she whispers. Miguel smiles sadly. "Not yet, perhaps." Across town, Dominic Rugazaki reviews photographs of the happy couple, his expression darkening. "Find out everything about Sofia Mendoza," he tells Isabella. Everyone has secrets. Everyone has weaknesses. Alexander Katsaros may have found a shield, but every shield has a breaking point. Chapter 4. 2 weeks into their arrangement, Sophia sits in Alexander's home office, spreadsheets scattered across the coffee table between them. Outside, rain lashes against the windows of the penthouse, the city lights blurred into watercolor smudges. The European expansion isn't just premature, Sophia explains, pointing to her analysis. It's positioned in the wrong markets. Germany and France are saturated, but Portugal has emerging opportunities that align perfectly with Katsaros Enterprises' strengths. Alexander studies her work, his brow furrowed in concentration. When he finally looks up, something has shifted in his expression. You've completely rethought our 5-year strategy. Sophia hesitates, suddenly aware she may have overstepped. I'm sorry. You didn't ask for this level of. Don't apologize, he cuts her off. This is exceptional work. The genuine admiration in his voice catches her off guard. Their eyes meet, and for a moment, the contract between them fades into the background. Alexander clears his throat. I'm presenting to the board tomorrow. Would you join me? Won't that seem strange? I'm supposed to be your fiancé, not your business advisor. You're a financial analyst in your own right. Besides, he adds with the ghost of a smile, what better way to sell our relationship than to show we're partners in every sense? The board meeting proves transformative. Sophia watches Alexander present her strategy as their joint vision, giving her full credit when board members ask questions. The respect with which he treats her professional insights isn't performative, it's genuine. Afterward, board member Helen Whitaker approaches them. You two make quite the team, she remarks. Sophia, your market analysis was refreshing. Alexander, you seem different. More balanced. As they leave the building, Alexander's hand rests lightly on the small of her back, a touch that's become strangely familiar in the weeks of public appearances. They believe in us, he says quietly. Sophia glances up at him. In the strategy or in our relationship? Both, he replies. Both matter. Life in the penthouse falls into unexpected rhythms. Mornings begin with Sophia finding fresh coffee waiting, prepared exactly as she likes it. She discovers Alexander rises before dawn to work out in his private gym, returning as she emerges for breakfast. They rarely dine together, their schedules deliberately staggered, yet small signs of accommodation appear, a shelf cleared for her favorite teas, her preferred fruits always in stock. Sophia adds touches to the sterile space, fresh flowers in the living room, colorful throw blankets, books left open on side tables. Signs of life in a place that felt like a museum. She notices Alexander never moves these items back, though his need for order is evident in every other aspect of his environment. One evening, returning late from a work event, Sophia finds Alexander in the kitchen, attempting to cook. The sight is so incongruous she stops short. What are you doing? She asks, unable to keep the amusement from her voice. Alexander looks up, embarrassment flashing across his features. Trying to make risotto. Apparently, it's more complicated than it looks. The burnt smell suggests significant understatement. Sophia drops her purse and rolls up her sleeves. Move over. Let me salvage this. You cook? He asks, watching her take control of the situation. I grew up in a restaurant, she reminds him, assessing the disaster before her. This is beyond saving. Let's start over. To her surprise, Alexander doesn't leave but remains to help, following her instructions with the same focused attention he brings to boardroom strategies. As they work side by side in the kitchen, Sophia realizes it's the first truly domestic moment they've shared, unscripted and genuine. Why risotto? She asks as she stirs the rice. Alexander is quiet for a moment. My grandfather used to make it. After we immigrated. It was one of the few things that made my mother smile during those difficult years. The personal revelation, so rare from him, hangs in the air between them. Sophia simply nods, continuing to stir, giving him space to share or retreat. He built Katsuro's enterprises from nothing, Alexander continues softly. Worked 18-hour days. I barely saw him, but when I did, he often had flour on his hands from cooking. Sophia smiles. Like my father. Always smelling of spices and soap from washing dishes. Is that why you became a financial analyst? To escape restaurant life? No, Sophia corrects gently. To protect it. We nearly lost everything in the recession. I swore I'd never let that happen again. When they finally sit to eat the risotto, imperfect but edible, Sophia feels a subtle shift in their dynamic. A tiny crack in the walls between them. Outside their private world, public interest in their romance intensifies. Photographers follow them to restaurants, charity events, weekend walks in Central Park. Sophia learns to smile naturally for cameras, to lean into Alexander's embrace without stiffening, to answer personal questions with practiced deflection. At a hospital charity gala, Sophia excuses herself to the powder room, only to find herself face-to-face with Isabella Visconti. Alexander's ex-wife is even more stunning in person, her Italian beauty accentuated by a red dress designed to command attention. So, Isabella purrs, applying fresh lipstick. You're Alexander's new acquisition. Sophia straightens her spine. Fiancé, she corrects calmly. Isabella laughs, the sound like crystal shattering. Darling, we both know what you are. The question is whether you know what he is. I know enough, Sophia replies, refusing to engage. Do you? Isabella steps closer. Do you know what happens when he truly loves someone? When his control slips? Ask him about Athens. Ask him what happens when Alexander Katsuros feels betrayed. Before Sophia can respond, Isabella glides from the room, leaving behind expensive perfume and poisonous doubt. When Sophia returns to Alexander's side, he immediately senses her disquiet. What happened? He asks, his hand tightening on hers. I met your ex-wife, Sophia replies quietly. Alexander's expression darkens. Ignore anything she said. Isabella excels at manipulation. She mentioned Athens, Sophia ventures. She implied something happened there. The muscle in Alexander's jaw ticks. Ancient history, he dismisses, but his eyes have grown cold. Let's finish our circuit and leave. We've been visible enough tonight. That night, Sophia lies awake in her luxurious bedroom, turning Isabella's words over in her mind. The warning felt genuine beneath the malice. For the first time, she wonders about the man sleeping on the other side of the penthouse, what he's capable of, what demons he harbors. Yet she also remembers his patient help in the kitchen, his respect for her professional abilities, the way his hand sometimes steadies her in crowds as though genuinely concerned for her comfort. The contradictions of Alexander Katsuros grow more intriguing by the day. In his own room, Alexander stares at the ceiling, thoughts circling. Sophia's integration into his life has been smoother than anticipated. Too smooth. He's finding her presence, not unwelcome. The realization disturbs him more than it should. Attachments are weaknesses. Weaknesses become weapons in the wrong hands. And with Dominic Rugazaki watching their every move, weakness is something neither of them can afford. Have you ever found yourself developing unexpected feelings in a relationship that started for completely different reasons? Share your experience in the comments. And if you're enjoying this story, tap that like button to help others find it too. Chapter 5. The first attack comes without warning. Sophia sits in the back of a town car returning from a lunch meeting when her phone buzzes with a call from Alexander. His voice is terse with suppressed tension. Where are you right now? On my way back to the office. Why? Change of plans. Raymond will bring you to Katsuro's Enterprises immediately. Alexander pauses. Don't check your email or social media. Just come straight here. Ice forms in Sophia's stomach. What's happened? I'll explain when you arrive. At Katsuro's Enterprises, security whisks her through a private entrance and up to Alexander's office. She finds him standing with his crisis management team, all eyes fixed on a large screen displaying financial news headlines. Katsuro's financials falsified? Whistleblower alleges fraud. Alexander's expression is carved from stone as he turns to her. Someone leaked doctored financial statements to the press. Our stock is in freefall. Sophia scans the room, noting the barely contained panic. What do the fake documents show? Hidden losses in our Asian markets. Fabricated profits. Exactly what would terrify shareholders. Alexander dismisses his team with a nod. When they're alone, his composure cracks slightly. This has Rugazaki written all over it. Sophia moves to the computer, her analytical mind already processing. Show me everything, the real statements and the forgeries. For hours, they work side by side, Sophia meticulously comparing authentic documents with the falsified versions. Her expertise in financial analysis becomes their greatest weapon as she identifies subtle discrepancies that reveal the forgery's weaknesses. Here, she points to a section of complex data. The forger didn't understand the relationship between these currency fluctuations and our commodity contracts. It's mathematically impossible for these numbers to coexist. Alexander leans close, his shoulder pressing against hers as he studies the screen. Can you prove it conclusively? I can build a model that demonstrates the mathematical impossibility. No expert could refute it. As night falls, they develop a counter-strategy, a press conference where Sophia herself will dismantle the forgeries point by point, leveraging her reputation as a financial analyst. The plan is risky, thrusting her into the spotlight beyond her role as Alexander's fiancée. Are you certain about this? Alexander asks, concern evident in his voice. Once you publicly align with Katsuro's Enterprises this way, you become a target too. Sophia meets his gaze steadily. I already am. The realization hits Alexander like a physical blow. In bringing Sophia into his world, he's exposed her to his enemies. The thought of her being harmed because of him creates an unfamiliar ache in his chest. The next morning, Sophia stands before the financial press, calm and authoritative as she methodically deconstructs the allegations. Her explanation is technically brilliant yet accessible, earning grudging respect from even the most skeptical reporters. By afternoon, the stock begins to recover. That evening, as they return to the penthouse, Alexander breaks their usual silence. You were extraordinary today. Sophia looks up, surprised by the genuine admiration in his voice. It was just math. It was bravery, he counters. You put yourself at risk to protect my company. Our company, she almost says, but catches herself. This arrangement is temporary, regardless of how real it felt today. In the weeks that follow, they work together to investigate the source of the attack. Late nights poring over documents blur the boundaries of their arrangement, takeout containers litter the coffee table, Sophia kicks off her heels to curl up on the sofa with her laptop, Alexander loosens his tie and rolls up his sleeves as they build a case against their unseen enemy. One night, Sophia discovers a pattern hidden in the metadata of the forged documents. These were created on Katsuro's Enterprises computers, she says, eyes wide with the implication. Alexander's expression darkens. An inside job. Someone with high-level access, Sophia confirms. The trail leads to your executive floor. They compile a list of suspects, board members, executives, long-time employees with the necessary access and potential motives. The investigation leads them to cross-reference visitor logs, finding an unexpected connection. Isabella has been meeting with your CFO, Sophia says quietly, showing Alexander the evidence. Monthly, for the past year. Alexander's face hardens. James has been with the company for 15 years. I trusted him. People change, Sophia says gently. Especially when there's money involved. But she can see the betrayal cutting deep. Alexander's trust issues weren't paranoia, they were lessons learned through painful experience. The discovery leads them to set a trap, feeding misinformation to the CFO while monitoring his communications. When they catch him red-handed passing confidential documents to Isabella, Alexander's fury is cold and controlled as he confronts the man. Why? He demands, voice dangerously soft. The CFO's composure crumbles. Rugazaki offered me 10 million. And? He hesitates. Isabella said you were going to replace me anyway. After security escorts the man out, Alexander stands at his office window, shoulders rigid with tension. I should have seen it. The signs were there. Sophia approaches hesitantly. You can't suspect everyone. In my world, that's exactly what you do. His voice is bitter. Trust is a luxury I can't afford. That's a lonely way to live, Sophia says quietly. Alexander turns to her, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. Are you speaking from experience? The question catches her off guard with its perceptiveness. Maybe. After my mother died, I learned that nothing is guaranteed. That protecting yourself means keeping your guard up. Their gazes hold, a moment of genuine connection in the understanding that they share more than either realized. The drive home is silent, heavy with unspoken thoughts. In the penthouse elevator, Alexander suddenly says, "Thank you." When Sophia looks at him questioningly, he adds, "For helping me find the truth." Most people would have stayed out of it. I'm not most people, she replies simply. His hand reaches for hers, fingers intertwining with unexpected gentleness. No, you're not. The touch sends warmth cascading through Sophia's body. For the first time, she doesn't pull away. The elevator doors open to their shared home, and something has shifted between them, an awareness that wasn't there before. That night, Sophia dreams of Alexander. Not the controlled, powerful CEO, but the man she's glimpsed in rare unguarded moments, cooking risotto, rolling up his sleeves to work beside her, the vulnerable look in his eyes when he spoke of trust. She wakes with her heart racing, suddenly afraid of the feelings growing within her. Because feelings weren't part of their contract. And Sofia Mendoza always honors her contracts, even when her heart begins to wish for renegotiation. Chapter 6. The revelation of Isabella's involvement in the corporate sabotage changes something fundamental between Sophia and Alexander. With the immediate threat neutralized, they could return to their carefully maintained distance. Instead, the walls between them begin to crumble. It starts with small things, dinners taken together rather than apart, conversations that extend beyond business and appearances, moments when Alexander's hand lingers on the small of her back even when no cameras are present. One evening, while reviewing security protocols for an upcoming charity gala, Alexander receives a call that drains the color from his face. Sophia watches him listen in silence before hanging up with a terse, "I'll be right there." "What's happened?" she asks, alarmed by his expression. "My mother," he says, already reaching for his keys. "She's in the hospital." Without hesitation, Sophia rises. "I'm coming with you." At the hospital, they find Eleni recovering from what thankfully was only a minor heart incident. The doctors are optimistic but insistent on a few days of observation. When Sophia and Alexander enter the room, Eleni looks smaller somehow against the white hospital sheets, her usual composure fragile. "You didn't have to come," she tells Sophia, but her eyes say otherwise. "Of course I did," Sophia replies, taking the older woman's hand. "Your family now." The word hangs in the air, unexpectedly significant. Alexander stands stiffly at the bedside, clearly unsettled by seeing his formidable mother vulnerable. Sophia notes how his hand trembles slightly before he shoves it into his pocket. When Eleni falls asleep, they retreat to the hallway. Alexander paces, his controlled facade cracking. "She's always been invincible," he says quietly. "Even after my father died. She never showed weakness." Sophia touches his arm gently. "It's not weakness to need care sometimes." Alexander looks at her, something raw in his expression. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "This. Feelings. Vulnerability." He gestures vaguely at the hospital room, at the situation, perhaps at life itself. Sophia doesn't retreat from his admission. Instead, she steps closer. "You just be present." That's all anyone can really do. Something shifts in Alexander's eyes, recognition, perhaps, of being seen and accepted. Without warning, he pulls Sophia into an embrace, his arms tight around her as though she's an anchor in a storm. She feels him trembling slightly, this powerful man allowing himself one moment of vulnerability. When he releases her, there's a new awareness between them, a line crossed that cannot be uncrossed. The following weekend, with Eleni safely home and recovering, Sophia insists Alexander accompany her to Miguel's restaurant. "You need comfort food," she declares, brooking no argument. The small restaurant is busy with Saturday evening patrons, the atmosphere warm and lively. Miguel greets them with genuine pleasure, leading them to a corner table already set with special dishes. "I prepared all your favorites," he tells Sophia, kissing her cheek before turning to Alexander. "And some things a man should try at least once in his life." Throughout dinner, Sophia watches Alexander gradually relax in the unpretentious environment. Miguel treats him not as a billionaire CEO but simply as the man in his daughter's life, teasing him gently and sharing embarrassing stories of Sophia's childhood that make her groan and Alexander actually laugh, a rich, genuine sound she's rarely heard. "She climbed onto the kitchen counter," Miguel recounts, eyes twinkling, determined to reach the cookie jar. 6 years old, already so strong-willed. "When I found her, she had flour all over her face but refused to admit defeat." "I still got the cookies," Sophia reminds him, smiling at the memory. "You always get what you go after," Miguel says fondly, his gaze shifting meaningfully between her and Alexander. Later, as they walk back to the car, bellies full and spirits lighter, Alexander says, "Your father is a remarkable man." "Yes," Sophia agrees simply. "He is. The way he built that restaurant, the community there. It's a different kind of legacy than what I'm used to, but no less significant." They stop walking, standing beneath the glow of a street lamp. Sophia studies Alexander's face, noticing how the harsh lines have softened. "Not everything valuable can be measured in stock prices," she says quietly. Alexander meets her eyes. "I'm beginning to understand that." The moment stretches between them, charged with unspoken feelings. For an instant, Sophia thinks Alexander might kiss her, sees the consideration in his eyes. Instead, he offers his arm to continue their walk, but something has irreversibly changed. The next morning, Eleni requests Sophia visit her alone at the Hamptons estate. Sophia arrives nervous, uncertain of what to expect. She finds Eleni in the garden, looking friendlier than before but with the same sharp gaze. "Sit," the older woman instructs, pouring tea with steady hands. "We need to talk about my son." Sophia perches on the edge of her chair. "Is something wrong?" "Yes," Eleni says bluntly. "He's falling in love with you." Sophia nearly chokes on her tea. "I'm sorry. Don't play naive. It doesn't suit you." Eleni sets down her cup deliberately. "This arrangement between you, yes, I know it's an arrangement, I wasn't born yesterday, it's becoming something else. I need to know your intentions." Sophia stares, caught completely off guard by Eleni's directness. We have a contract. Contracts can be broken. Hearts, too. Eleni's gaze softened slightly. Alexander has never looked at anyone the way he looks at you, not even Isabella. After she betrayed him, I thought that part of him was gone forever. What happened in Athens? Sophia asks suddenly, the question that's lingered since Isabella mentioned it. Eleni's expression grows grave. That is Alexander's story to tell. But know this, my son feels deeply, even when he pretends otherwise. When he truly loves, he loves completely. It makes the betrayal all the more devastating. As Sophia drives back to Manhattan, her mind reels with implications. Alexander's developing feelings, Eleni's warning, her own heart's increasingly inconvenient response to the man who was supposed to be merely a business partner. A contract signed in ink, now being rewritten in emotions neither of them had anticipated. Chapter 7. Sophia returns to the penthouse to find Alexander in his home office, deep in discussion with his security team. He glances up as she enters, something softening in his expression. "How was my mother?" he asks after dismissing the others. "Recovering well. Strong." Sophia keeps her tone light, hiding the turmoil of her conversation with Eleni. "We had tea in the garden." Alexander studies her face. "And what else? You look troubled." Before she can respond, his phone rings, a call he can't ignore. Sophia retreats to her room, conflicted emotions churning. That evening, they attend a gallery opening together, playing their roles perfectly for the public eye. Alexander's hand rests possessively at her waist, his smile appropriately adoring when photographers capture them together. Later that night, Alexander receives a business associate in his home office while Sophia works in the living room. With the doors ajar, snippets of conversation drift to her ears. "Impressive how you've tamed the situation," the man says. "The engagement was a brilliant strategic move." "Sophia has been an asset," Alexander replies, his tone businesslike. "And once the merger is complete? I assume you have an exit strategy for the relationship." There's a pause before Alexander responds. "Everything is proceeding according to plan. The contract ensures a clean break when the time comes." Sophia's heart constricts painfully. She knows logically that Alexander is saying exactly what their arrangement dictates, yet hearing him discuss her dismissal so clinically cuts deeper than expected. She gathers her papers and retreats to her bedroom, forcing herself to remember this was always business, never personal. The next morning, Sophia leaves early for a meeting at her firm, avoiding Alexander entirely. When she returns that evening, she finds an elegant jewelry box waiting on her dresser. Inside gleams a pair of sapphire earrings, not ostentatious like the engagement ring designed for show, but subtly beautiful in a way that speaks to her personal taste. The card simply reads, "For the Anderson Charity Gala." No romantic message, no personal touch. Just another prop for their performance. Sophia sets the box aside, inexplicably disappointed. At the charity gala 2 nights later, Sophia wears the sapphires with a midnight blue gown. Alexander's eyes widen appreciatively when she emerges from her room, but she maintains a polite distance between them on the ride to the venue. The event is filled with Manhattan's elite, old money, new money, and those desperately pretending to have money. Sophia navigates the social complexities with practiced ease now, months of such events having honed her skills. She notes Isabella across the room, draped possessively on Dominic Rugazaki's arm, both watching her and Alexander with calculated interest. "They make quite the villainous pair," Sophia murmurs to Alexander during a quiet moment. He follows her gaze, his expression hardening. "They're planning something. This latest financial attack was just a warm-up." "We'll be ready," Sophia assures him, surprised by how naturally she now thinks in terms of "we" rather than "you." Midway through the evening, Sophia excuses herself to the ladies' room. Returning through a quiet corridor, she overhears Alexander's voice from a semi-private alcove, speaking with a board member. "Remarkable performance, Alexander. Even I almost believe you're in love with her. Everything with Sophia is proceeding perfectly. Alexander's voice is smooth, controlled. The shareholders are satisfied, the stock is stable despite Rugazaki's attacks. When this is over, the severance package will ensure her discretion. And she's fully on board with the plan? No messy emotions to complicate things? Alexander laughs lightly. Sophia Mendoza is the most pragmatic woman I've ever met. This is strictly business for both of us. The perfect arrangement. Sophia steps back, a cold wave washing over her. Hearing Alexander speak so dismissively of any emotional connection between them, especially after the intimacy they've shared recently, feels like a physical blow. She's been a fool, reading meaning into moments that were meaningless to him. Seeing connection where there was only strategy. She composes herself, returning to the gala with a brittle smile fixed in place. When Alexander reaches for her hand, she allows it but remains distant, her responses automatic and empty. He notices immediately, questioning her with his eyes, but she deflects with practiced charm. That night, Sophia lies awake, staring at the ceiling of her luxurious prison. She'd entered this arrangement with clear eyes, knowing exactly what it was. So why does her chest ache at the confirmation that Alexander sees her as nothing more than a business asset? The next morning, Sophia makes a decision. She packs a small bag with essentials and leaves it by the door. When Alexander emerges from his room, she's waiting in the kitchen, calm and composed. "I need some time away," she says without preamble. "I'm going to stay at my apartment for a few days." Alexander freezes, coffee cup halfway to his lips. "Why?" "This arrangement, it's becoming complicated. I need space to remember what's real and what isn't." His expression shifts, something like panic flashing briefly. "Is this about the earrings? If you didn't like them." "It's not about jewelry," Sophia interrupts. "It's about clarity. We started this with clear boundaries, and they're getting blurred." "By whom?" Alexander challenges, setting down his cup with careful precision. The question hangs between them, neither willing to admit vulnerability first. Finally, Sophia shakes her head. "It doesn't matter. What matters is remembering this is temporary. A contract with an expiration date. I just need to remind myself of that." She gathers her bag, feeling Alexander's eyes on her every movement. At the elevator, she pauses, waiting for him to stop her, to say something, anything, that might contradict what she overheard last night. He remains silent, his expression unreadable. The elevator doors close between them. In her small apartment, unchanged since she moved out months ago, Sophia feels both relief and loss. The space is truly hers, filled with memories and personal touches that speak to her identity. Yet it feels strangely empty now, as though something essential is missing. At the penthouse, Alexander stands motionless where Sophia left him, staring at the closed elevator doors. For the first time in years, the vast space feels unbearably empty, echoing with her absence. Meanwhile, in a sleek downtown office, Dominic Rugazaki reviews photographs of Sophia leaving the penthouse with her bag. "It seems there's trouble in paradise," he tells Isabella with satisfaction. "Time to make our final move. We all face moments when pride and fear keep us from admitting how we really feel. Tag someone who needs to hear this story right now. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe so you never miss a new Love Diary episode." Chapter 8. Alexander Katsaros has never begged for anything in his life. As a child, he watched his grandfather rise from immigrant dishwasher to business mogul through sheer force of will. As a man, he's built walls so impenetrable that even Isabella's betrayal couldn't truly reach his core. Yet here he stands, staring at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, a stranger to himself. 3 days since Sophia left. 3 days of hollow victories in the boardroom, of returning to an empty penthouse, of finding her scent lingering on a throw pillow and fighting the urge to bury his face in it. His phone buzzes with a security alert, another attempt to breach Katsuro's Enterprises systems, more aggressive than before. Rugazaki is making his final move, sensing weakness. The timing couldn't be worse. The board is nervous, the shareholders wavering. Everything Alexander has worked for hangs in the balance. And all he can think about is Sophia. He calls her office, but she's taking personal days. Calls her cell, but she doesn't answer. Pride stops him from going to her apartment. Pride, the armor he's worn so long he's forgotten how to remove it. On the evening of the fourth day, Eleni calls. "Have you fixed it yet?" she demands without preamble. "Fixed what?" Alexander deflects. His mother sighs with exasperation. "Whatever you did to drive away the only woman who's ever seen past your defenses." "Don't play dense, Alexander. It doesn't suit you." "She's the one who left," he says stiffly. "And you're the one too stubborn to go after her." Eleni's voice softens. "What are you afraid of, my son?" The question strikes deeper than she could know. Fear is not an emotion Alexander Katsuros acknowledges. Fear is weakness. And yet. What if she doesn't want me? The words escape before he can stop them. Not the CEO, not the Katsuros name. Just me. "Then that would be the first honest thing between you," Eleni replies gently. "And isn't truth worth the risk?" After hanging up, Alexander stands at his window, watching storm clouds gather over Manhattan. Rain begins to fall, gentle at first, then with increasing fury. Like the emotions he suppressed for so long, now threatening to drown him. The security system chimes with an urgent alert. He checks his phone to find multiple warnings, systematic attacks on Katsuro's Enterprises' digital infrastructure. Rugazaki making his move. He should go to the office, coordinate the defense. Instead, he grabs his keys. Sophia sits curled in her window seat, watching the same storm, a mug of tea growing cold in her hands. She's ignored multiple calls from Alexander, from his security team, even from Miguel who sensed something wrong in her voice. The small apartment feels both like sanctuary and prison, free from pretense yet empty of the connection she hadn't realized she'd come to need. Her phone rings again, Alexander's security chief this time. She answers with reluctance. "Ms. Mendoza, we have an emergency situation. Katsuro's Enterprises is under coordinated attack. Multiple systems compromised." Sophia sits straighter. "What's Alexander doing about it?" "We can't reach him. He left the penthouse 30 minutes ago without security. Phone's turned off." A chill runs through her that has nothing to do with the storm. "Send me the technical details. I'll see what I can do remotely." For the next hour, Sophia works frantically on her laptop, identifying intrusion points, implementing countermeasures. The attack is sophisticated, clearly Rugazaki's work, but she finds a pattern in the chaos, a weakness she can exploit. So focused is she on her task that she barely registers the knocking at first. When she finally opens her door, she finds Alexander standing there, soaked to the skin. Rain drips from his hair, his normally impeccable suit plastered to his body. His expression is raw, vulnerable in a way she's never seen. "Alexander? What are you?" She doesn't finish as he steps forward. "I need to tell you about Athens," he says, his voice rough. "About what happened there?" Sophia blinks in confusion. "The company is under attack. Didn't you get the alerts?" "Yes." He doesn't move from the doorway, water pooling at his feet. "And for the first time in my life, something matters more than the company." She steps back, allowing him inside. He stands in her small living room, incongruous and yet somehow right, despite the water dripping onto her floor. After the divorce, he begins without preamble, "I went to Athens. To our villa there. The place Isabella claimed was her favorite." His jaw tightens. I discovered she'd been hosting her lovers there for years. Including my former partner. Including men who helped him steal company secrets. Sophia sits slowly, the magnitude of the betrayal sinking in. I lost control, Alexander continues, shame evident in his voice. I destroyed everything in that villa. Priceless art. Furniture. Windows. I surrendered to rage in a way I'd never allowed myself before. The tabloids ran the story for weeks, the unhinged CEO, the violent outburst. That's what Isabella wanted me to know, Sophia says softly. To paint you as dangerous. Alexander meets her eyes directly. I want you to know the truth. Yes, I'm capable of that rage. Of that loss of control. But only because I loved completely. Only because I gave someone the power to destroy me. The vulnerability in his confession takes Sophia's breath away. Why are you telling me this now? While your company is under attack? Because I'm terrified of feeling that way again, he admits, his voice breaking slightly. Of loving someone so much that losing them would break me. And yet here I am, already broken by your absence. Sophia stands slowly, her heart pounding. What are you saying, Alexander? He moves closer, rain-soaked and earnest. I'm saying that somewhere between the contract and now, I fell in love with you. Your brilliance. Your integrity. The way you challenge me. The person I become when I'm with you. But I heard you at the gala. You said I was just business. A perfect arrangement. Alexander winces. I was lying. To him, to myself. Trying to maintain the illusion of control when I'd already lost it. He takes her hands in his wet ones. Sophia Mendoza, you are the least convenient, most complicated, most essential thing that has ever happened to me. The raw honesty in his words reaches into the depths of Sophia's guarded heart. She sees now what Eleni meant, when Alexander loves, he loves completely, without reservation. The terrifying beauty of it leaves her speechless. Her phone buzzes urgently, more security alerts. The company, she whispers. Will still be there, Alexander finishes. But this moment won't be. Tell me now, is there any chance you feel something real for me? Beyond the contract? Beyond the arrangement? Sophia looks into his eyes, vulnerable, hopeful, afraid, and sees the man behind the CEO, the lost boy beneath the powerful magnate. The walls around her heart crumble completely. Yes, she admits finally. God help me, but yes. The kiss that follows isn't for cameras or appearances. It's desperate, honest, years of loneliness and fear dissolving in the connection between them. When they pull apart, both breathless, Sophia rests her forehead against his. We should still save your company, she murmurs against his lips. Our company, he corrects. If you'll stay. Not for the contract. For us. Together, they work through the night, Sophia's analytical genius and Alexander's strategic mastery combining to counter Rugazaki's attack. By dawn, they've not only defended their systems but traced the intrusion to its source, gathering evidence of corporate espionage that will end Rugazaki's campaign once and for all. 2 nights later, at the annual Katsuros Foundation Charity Gala, Alexander and Sophia walk the red carpet hand in hand. This time, the adoration in his eyes isn't performance but truth. When Dominic Rugazaki approaches with Isabella on his arm, confidence radiating from both, Alexander merely smiles. I believe the FBI agents would like a word, he says quietly, nodding toward the suited individuals approaching from behind. As Dominic and Isabella are discreetly escorted from the gala, charges of corporate espionage and stock manipulation ensuring their downfall, Alexander turns to Sophia. Not exactly the dramatic confrontation villains usually get, she comments. Alexander laughs, the sound free and genuine. I've learned something important recently. True power isn't in grand gestures or public victories. Oh? Sophia raises an eyebrow. And what is it in? He draws her close, uncaring of the photographers capturing the moment. In knowing what truly matters. And protecting it at all costs. As he kisses her beneath the crystal chandeliers, applause erupts around them, not for the takedown of their enemies, but for the authentic love radiating between them, visible to everyone in the room. A love that began as contract but transformed into the most valuable asset either could imagine. 1 year later. The penthouse that once epitomized cold luxury has transformed completely. Where stark minimalism once reigned, warmth now flows through every corner. Family photos line shelves that previously displayed only abstract art. The pristine white furniture now bears colorful throws in rich patterns reflecting both Greek and Mexican heritage. A bookshelf overflows with financial texts alongside children's stories in 3 languages. Alexander stands at the nursery doorway, tie loosened, watching Sophia as she hums softly to their 2-month-old twins. Elias Miguel and Elena Maria Katsaros sleep peacefully in their mother's arms, tiny fingers occasionally twitching in dream-filled slumber. The nursery walls display hand-painted murals commissioned from a local artist from Sophia's old neighborhood, scenes of Greek islands meeting Mexican landscapes in a beautiful fusion of their heritage. They're finally asleep? Alexander whispers, approaching quietly. Sophia nods, her eyes never leaving the babies' faces. Elena fought it for a while. Just like her father, stubborn to the core. Alexander chuckles softly as he gently takes his son from Sophia's arms, cradling him with a tenderness that would have shocked his board members. And Elias calculated the optimal time to fall asleep, I suppose? Just like his analyst mother? Exactly, Sophia smiles, carefully placing Elena in her crib. Maximum efficiency. As they step out of the nursery, Sophia's fingers find Alexander's, intertwining naturally. The simple gesture still sends warmth through him, this casual intimacy they've built together. In the living room, a framed front-page article hangs prominently. Katsaros Enterprises launches groundbreaking financial literacy program. The initiative, spearheaded by Sophia, provides resources and education to underserved communities, a reflection of the company's evolution under their joint leadership. Alexander pours them both a glass of wine as they settle onto the couch, Sophia tucking herself against his side as naturally as breathing. Miguel called today, she says. The restaurant's expansion is complete. He wants us to bring the twins for the grand reopening next week. Alexander smiles. Eleni's already planning what to wear. I think she's more excited about being a grandmother than she ever was about being my mother. That's not true, Sophia counters gently. She just finally sees you happy. Alexander's fingers trace patterns on Sophia's shoulder as he contemplates this. I never understood what was missing before. I had everything, power, wealth, success by every measurable standard. And yet, Sophia agrees softly. They sit in comfortable silence, watching the city lights shimmer through the windows. The same view that once symbolized Alexander's isolation now represents their shared kingdom, a dazzling backdrop to a life neither could have imagined. I was thinking about our contract the other day, Alexander says suddenly. Sophia looks up, amusement in her eyes. Which clause specifically? The one about separate bedrooms or the one about minimal physical contact? Alexander laughs. I was actually thinking about the termination clause. Oh. Sophia shifts to face him fully, curiosity piqued. It expired 6 months ago, he reminds her. According to our original agreement, we were free to dissolve our arrangement with no penalties. Sophia's expression grows serious. Are you suggesting a renegotiation, Mr. Katsaros? I'm suggesting. Alexander reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. A new contract entirely. One without expiration dates or exit clauses. Sophia's breath catches as he opens the box to reveal not an ostentatious diamond but a ring of intertwined gold and silver bands, symbolizing their merged lives. "This isn't for show," Alexander says softly. "No photographers, no strategic advantage. Just us. Real. Permanent." Tears fill Sophia's eyes as she looks from the ring to the man she's come to love so deeply. "Are you asking me to marry you when we're already married?" "I'm asking you to marry me for real this time. No contracts. No arrangements. Just a promise between us that needs no legal documentation." Sophia's smile blooms slowly, radiant with joy. "I accept your terms, Mr. Katsaros." As he slips the ring onto her finger next to the elaborate diamond that once symbolized their business arrangement, Alexander feels the final walls around his heart dissolve completely. "I never expected this," Sophia whispers against his lips. "When I signed that contract, I thought I was sacrificing one dream for another. And instead, I found everything I never dared to dream of." What began as transaction has alchemized into transformation. Two people who believed they understood the precise value of everything discovered the one thing beyond calculation: love. In surrendering control, they gained something far more valuable. In risking vulnerability, they found unshakable strength. The contract that once bound them has long since been filed away, a relic of who they were rather than who they've become. Its purpose fulfilled not in its execution but in bringing together two souls who might otherwise never have recognized their perfect complementarity.